Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to another one of my video updates. So this video will be a continuation of my overall video about 2015, the year of the magician and the year of us working with our power more consciously. So I picked this beautiful sacred spot. This is a spot with a waterfall energy moving downwards, a lot of rocks. Hope these rocks that are right above me don't fall on me, so working with our power to know that it is so. And I picked this location particularly because I like to come here to do some Elven and Seraphim singing, because the energy is so powerful that when I sing and the energy goes through the rocks, they literally amplify the energy. So when I'm speaking, I feel kind of like something similar happening. And this will be a video about our power and how to more consciously work with it. So the first lesson already came through. So as I said, we will be initiated through these different steps into working with energy more consciously. So the first step is really laying the foundations for our new, which means that let's take the example of 2015 being a new year, okay? So we like to say, okay, this year ended, this year now is beginning. And it has a completely different numerology and frequency to it, and it's up to us how we tune to it. But what Spirit showed me, it's more of a continuation process. It's not that something abruptly ends. And the same goes with our new life. They don't just end and then start anew. We're just transforming and expanding step by step, layer by layer. And as you know, we always live in the kind of reality that we're initiating ourselves into. So we won't experience something that we weren't really going through with integration of the soul and the body. And maybe other people will say they're experiencing it, and if we are not, it means we haven't yet gone through that initiation. That's it. It doesn't mean other people are more special or they have privileges. It just means that they have walked through the initiation of it, and maybe we still have that part to do. So it's kind of like a continuation, a symphony. So today I was in the bathroom and Spirit showed me this. Lately I've been tuning a lot into music, especially classical music, and Spirit showed me every theme of the year. It's kind of like a symphony. When you imagine in classical music, when they play a symphony, always there's this red line, yeah, that flows through the whole symphony in the orchestra with different components, different instruments, and yet you have different parts of it, and yet they're also encompassed into one energy. So it's not like we ended something and now something completely new is beginning. It's a continuation, and it's like a symphony. Our whole essence will always be Ascension if we have chosen this path. But then there's different chapters, you know. When you listen to a symphony, it's like a story. So our lives are like a story unfolding. That's why when we move into this awareness, we no longer think in terms of ending something, beginning something anew, as if that which we ended no longer exists, because that is still and always will be a part of our journey. And whether we consciously tune into it more or less, but it is there. So when we imagine our lives in Ascension kind of like a symphony, and moving through different expansions, and you know, usually they start slowly, and in the middle you have this huge opening, and then again this integration time, when you integrate that music, when you integrate that symphony within your being. When I sing and I get these melodies, it's kind of like similar. So there's a steady, slow opening, there's a burst of energy, and then there's kind of like this beautiful culmination towards the end, which again, it's not an end, because the next time I go out, I get a new melody, and it's just a continuation of a previous one. So if you imagine creation beings, how they create, they take each song and expand it. Have you heard the story about the Iluvatar, the great Eru, and the creation beings from the Silmarillion? I always have trouble pronouncing that somehow. And if you've been tuning into that, maybe even Google it. It's on Wikipedia, a beautiful shortened description. You will see that the creator beings, they always received a certain song from Eru that they were supposed to sing, and then they also incorporated their own interpretation of it. And beautiful magical things that they were creating in existence came into being. So that's what we're doing. It's like a theme, and then we expand into it. So that's kind of like how it goes. Okay, so the theme for today is really working with the intent, with power. So the first challenge that Spirit showed me as we enter this new theme, the expanded version of our theme, the overall Ascension theme, is that, like I said before, we were more working maybe also with the energy of subconscious and drawing it forth into our conscious self-empowerment. So there was a lot of emotional clearing happening in the last 5 years or 7 years especially. And there was a lot of things that we were actually needing to deal with first before we started this conscious manifestation journey. And a lot of beings even said, when is this going to happen for me finally? And yet your higher self knew that this is the work you're doing now. It's just how it is. You cannot skip steps, yeah? In a perfect divine equation, again, think of the terms of symphony. If a part would come too soon, again, you know? And a very important part about symphonies is, I read recently about Beethoven, because for the New Year's we went to listen to the 9th Symphony of Beethoven, and you have Ode to Joy in it. It's beautiful. It's really expansive. And I was reading about it, and it said that Beethoven was actually working on it his entire life, because he was, like many others during that time, really focusing on humanistic high ideals for the greater good of the humanity, for society. So it was like a theme that he invested a lot of his own reflections in himself and his realizations that he just poured into music. So again, you know, we're in this lifetime, we're kind of culminating, and all of the essence that we are, that's all coming up in this beautiful grand symphony. So kind of imagine your life not like a goal-oriented journey, but a symphony, and all of your life is an investment in it. Nothing is in vain. No step was ever, you know, taken for granted, or it didn't matter. It had a beautiful meaning even if you didn't realize it at that time. So if we imagine our lives kind of like this beautiful divine symphony, we'll have so much more expansion in our being and how we perceive reality as such. So, like I said, in the years past, especially last 7 to 5 years, we were really doing more that, bringing the subconscious into the conscious, because that's when we grow into the entire power of our being, not just those 5% that you think you are in your power, okay? So we might have these beliefs that, okay, I'm doing affirmations, I'm doing this work, but it doesn't really work completely, is because there's still a lot of subconscious that still kind of governs your life in a way that you weren't aware of it. That's why things needed to come up first. From this year on, and again, it's not like an ending and opening, and that which ends is not even there anymore. It's a continuation of expansion. And from this time pivot on, because Spirit kept showing me this year as a new start in a way that really sets the energy in motion of conscious co-creation. That's why I received the words, the year of the magician. Again, it's not self-granted, it's not given, it's self-obvious. We need to first step into this energy. It won't just happen for us. If we haven't done any of this inner work, we won't notice things. We're still going to do, you know, those steps. But what I'm talking about here is for the path of Ascension pioneers who are always kind of overlighting the way for those who are following, who are also choosing to awaken and ascend. So during this time, it's becoming really obvious that what we've known as before somehow maybe just doesn't feel right anymore. But we still use words to describe it as from the old, or we still think in terms of that because we're used to it. And we were used to maybe our reality being sometimes challenging in a way that was hard for us. And I've heard a lot of people said that the year 2014 was very intense and hard for them. And, you know, then a new year begins. We all always like to think, okay, now it's finally going to happen for me. But again, it's not like that. Like Ascension is not an event. It's, again, this beautiful theme. It's a journey we have chosen for this life, and it's going to be a culmination of many lives into one, and that complete freedom of being as we really come into our physical ascension. So this year marks this pivotal beginning in finally creating something from our power. But our first challenge, Holy Spirit showed me in my own example, was knowing that power, because before we weren't so much soul embodied as we are now, and now we are. That's why our energy sometimes, because it's still in the body, can really work fast and can really work in an intense way. It can almost be like tiny like lightning bolts of fire. So sometimes we still, when we are in that old and we think that's how reality is, because we still haven't said, okay, I'm fully aware that now can be totally different, and we sometimes still use words to describe not just a reality, but also people in our lives and how they live. We describe them a certain way, and sometimes it backfires on us, and we're shown our magnitude of power of intent. So working with the intent, lesson number 1, become aware of your power. Watch it in your reality. So what backfired for me was, we had this example with my mom, and we were outside, and there was just something that was our usual old dynamics, okay? So part of me plugged again into that old and said, it's always this way, and you're always like this. And the next day, she only confirmed it even further because she had this pain and she wasn't able to do things completely. And later I was thinking, why, you know, it just feels like more pressure to my reality, and then I have to again do everything by myself. And as I was really just tuning into pure awareness, Spirit showed me, look, this is how you describe her, and you're so powerful in your thoughts and how you focus your energy, because it was coming through a lot of rush. Sometimes it also happened when we're very angry. It's not that anger in itself it's negative, it's just very intense, and if we don't know how to tame it, how to tame the energy, the self-mastery, that's what I'm talking about. How to really tame our energy and really use it for the greater advancement, not for self-sabotage or destruction, but for co-creation. Then we really have to know that this energy might be intense, but we push that into a very beautiful, loving kind of way, for compassion. Sometimes we just shoot arrows, you know, and those arrows will always hit a target. And as we get more into personal embodiment and integration of the soul, our energy will be stronger, and we will have impact not just on our own reality, but as Ascension pioneers, on the reality of others as well. And they will be our challengers. They will show us, like, look, you said this is this way, here it is. Another example we had during the holidays, because we drove somewhere, because I said, oh, nothing ever happens, let's just do this. And Spirit immediately said, okay, this will happen. And there was a lot of weird things happening, and it was almost like, you said nothing ever happens, now here's the happening, does it bring you joy? Is it this what you had in mind? It was such a quick ripple effect that we're really seeing that's not on the outside, it's not faded, it's not like, ooh, you know, I'm a victim. We're just getting acquainted with the power of our energy so that we know how to tame it, and then we will know how to more consciously work with it, because our overall theme, not just this year, but this is just the beginning, our overall theme will be this, kind of like we're in the Hogwarts school, you know, the Harry Potter movies. We're learning to train our own magician self. Remember, there was a scene when they still don't know how to actually harness and tame their inner magic, so they were just shooting this everywhere, you know, and there's weird things happening, kind of like that. And maybe it's not in the exact same way, but it's how we feel about things. It's how we think about things, but also words. Words are direct communication center, which ripples the energy out right away. Not just the spoken words, sometimes just the words that we think, we feel them. They're unspoken. And sometimes they're written. It doesn't matter. Either way, what matters is the power behind them. So sometimes we say something with anger, and it's uncontrolled anger, not that anger which you just use to become consciously aware of your feelings and then really knowing how to channel that energy forward. Again, this takes mastery, takes courage, takes practice. And with that intensity, we have to become aware. It's almost like getting our own bubble of energy, and then instead of just shooting it out randomly, really becoming conscious, because we have to become conscious of the energy ripple effects that we're using and that we're creating. So today there was this message I received, and I shared it on my Facebook page, because I'm doing daily card readings. It means like daily energy attunements, what we're really learning on the path and what Spirit shows me, so you can have a look if you want. And it was this butterfly, and the message again was of power. Most people relate butterfly archetype with transformation, so it is transformation but through power. And what's said there is that most people don't know, but butterflies are very powerful. They know how to harness their own energy, so even sometimes storms can't damage them. They're very powerful. They look fragile, but they're not. And you know, because what they go through is that liberation when they really turn into a butterfly after being in a phase of a caterpillar. So this is you know, this is this energy of power. Transform and then know your power through that transformation, and then use it for beauty, for creation, to inspire, not to self-sabotage or destruct. So this butterfly was leaving these trails of golden white light, and Spirit immediately showed me, look, these are your ripple effects. Be mindful of them, because you don't just have them in your own realities and what you feel, but how you describe others. So instead of saying, wow, you're always this vulnerable, or this person is always sick, or that person always reacts this way, we need to learn to tame our energy, to focus our energy in terms of really seeing things that even if that was the reality so far, and for example, that's all you've ever known, and maybe you have an angry parent, or you have an angry neighbor, or you have a friend that you don't always, correspond with utter pure love, and you always describe them, they're always like this, or this situation is always like that. Again, stop. Take a deep breath and say, is that really so? Even if it is my experience until so far, why can it not change? Because I am the transformer. I am the magician. This is what this year will invite us into. So the first lesson that Spirit showed me, and I shared with you that I will be sharing these updates in terms of what challenges, what initiations we're going through to really master that conscious creation and working with energy, so that we only harness it for the greater good. And there's a lot of beings who still hold that fear of power, because in ancient times like Atlantis, this power was abused. But now it's different. We gotta move over that, or we gotta really grow into a new phase of our soul maturity, yeah? And it's really important to be self-observant when we do that. So when we define something in this way, and we are a soul that is a pillar, Ascension pioneer with great power, because your soul has descended in your body and is just expanding. Is just going to be more and more power. Don't fear it, because when you really use it for love, for greater good, that power will be divine love inside of you, just pouring out. And even if it's intense, we got to learn how to use it. Intensity doesn't necessarily mean bad. Everything is always neutral, but how we use it is not. Okay, this is the part that is this free will connotation, which makes us expand through our experiences. So let's say you've had a certain experience up until this point that was always the same, and in this instant moment you can shift, because you see how your intent, this is what I'm talking about here, working with intent, that your intent really does have the power to change things. This doesn't mean you're healing others. We can never heal others. This doesn't mean that you're responsible for them. It just means that you hold the divine vision for the greater empowerment, not just within yourself, but also in others. And you see that we're all connected with this golden white energy of Source, how it connects us all as one. So if it really does connect us, if you visualize that for the other or for the situation, then it goes out. It causes this ripple effect. So this is this first lesson, and something we might be working on for a while now, because as a human being, we can get really quickly adjusted to something as being this way. We can be very static and linear. This is that fixed energy we sometimes really know on our planet. But there's also the dynamic energy, the spire energy that moves things forward. And when you recognize this within yourself, it's just a matter of not just meditating. Meditation is just that which provides answers. And for us who also live already in this pure soul, a state of bliss, we don't always just need to sit and meditate. It's just we get answers immediately when we purify our thoughts, that we're really present in the moment. Just that presence is meditation in itself, and we already receive all guidance, all knowing, but then it's always a matter of utilizing it, of changing something. So when I perceive something like this and I get the awareness, I always say within myself, I gotta move the energy forward, and this means in the body. So our energy is becoming more fire-based. It's that because fire represents spirit, and this is fire in the body. So then how will we use it? When you see images of the magician, he always holds fire or lightning bolts in his hand, and it's like creating something with the energy of fire. The true archetype of the magician is using the power of spirit, harnessing it in the purest way through love to make love manifest in human form, or whatever kind of form we exist in, right? So it's really first step is becoming aware that everything in your reality, your close reality, is an extension of you. Well, the collective consciousness is an even further out extension of us, okay? And again, let's say you perceive a person in your life that is your direct mirror. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your sibling, maybe it's your parent, maybe it's just someone you really resonate with, even if it's online, it doesn't matter. It's that closeness, it's that intimacy. So let's think of that first intimate links that we have with the people and the events and the situations in our life, and then see how we really describe them, because that is how we describe still parts within ourselves. And those parts we either magnify within that awareness, or we shift the energy and we put that magnification into somewhere else, a more expanded, more aware version of things, yeah? Through clarity, through focus. So focus is the first phases of working with the intent. And when we become aware of it, then we need to use all of our focus to then shift and move the energy forward. That's that ascension energy. The Serapis Bey who always says, just do it, you know, devote yourself to it. Let ascension be your only guide, your only true devotion in life. That doesn't mean you will be making sacrifices for other things in your life. It just means that everything will be perceived through the eyes of ascension, of you ascending, of you expanding your soul's awareness and moving into the next shift in your conscious self. So what's actually taking place here is really admitting to ourselves and seeing how quick things can ripple out. So the next time something happens very swiftly in your reality and you react to it and you think, oh gosh, it's just something you feel trapped in again, remove yourself from that conditioned thinking and say, how did I participate in creating that? It doesn't mean you're fully responsible, because there's still another person also who's choosing to participate in this outplaying of energy rippling out, so that we learn through each other. We need each other, okay? We're stronger because we show each other important messages and mirrors in this path of ascension. And you partially partook. You did partake in this, right? Partook. So you did partake in this, and becoming consciously aware and taking responsibility for that is also one important step. And the more we will be conscious of this, the next step will be, okay, Spirit will say, now we're going to give you more tools to play with here, because we won't progress further. You know, we all want to have magical abilities. But again, if we're not in our awareness in this human form, you might have this awareness in your higher self, in your, let's say, your star-seeded selves, your different multidimensional selves. But in the body is where you also need to integrate it. So before we really have that pure neutrality and full understanding, we won't be given further tools, because again, we can use them for self-destruction and the destruction of the greater whole. So this is our first step, really becoming aware, really honoring our power instead of thinking, well, me saying things, does it really matter? Because this comes from you not being aware that you're a part of the whole. The more that we become aware of the power that we hold within, it means the more we're aware of our source. And when you see these ripple effects, you're like, boom, bang, they're just happening in your life. And it's at the same time, it's not just passively happening. It's an ultimate messenger for us in this path. Okay, so if you're really honest with yourself, you can do some pondering about this. Imagine like you're this source in the middle, and everything around you that's a direct first intimate circle. So we have the first intimate circle, which is our closest people in our lives, our home base station, and the things we really love. And then again, we can spread further and further out. But that intimate circle is what surrounds you, and what comes then out of that more intimate circle into more expanded circle already emanates from that. So all of the work we need to do, of course, is within us, and that intimate circle is the first description of our reality. So imagine drawing these circles within you and around you, and then really being present in how all of that describes you, because it does. Let's say you're a very fast forward-moving being, and sometimes you don't know how to slow down. A lot of the times, I admit that's true for me, and I don't know how to slow down. I can be just like fire, 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 fire energy, right? And sometimes I need more water. I need just to be more, you know, that's why I spend a lot of times around the water and rocks, because they can ground you so fully in that home base station within you. And when this can happen, sometimes you can not integrate the other parts of you, and then maybe a being that shares intimate connection with you will directly show you what you're lacking. So let's say somebody gets sick or they need to slow down, they're also showing you, look, it's also for you to slow down, because you cannot recognize it within yourself. So sometimes we give each other these messages. Again, stay alert. Know that none of the beings that are really intimately connected with you are doing this for, you know, like in vain, or they're doing this, you know, on purpose, or to hurt you or to sabotage you. A lot of the times these primal soul connections we have is for love, because we want to show others. And imagine somebody choosing pain in their body just to give you a message. Isn't that amazing unconditional love? We can't see. A part of our human brain only sees everything as hurtful, as going against us, you know, this basic opposition kind of thinking. It's very low, and we need to transcend it, and we need to shift to the eyes of love. Eyes that only see everything as love, everything is a spirit-guided message, everything as a pure state of constant expansion in our evolution. Okay, so when you imagine that love and there's nothing but that love, then you will move forward. You will get more messages because you're saying yes. You know, you're saying yes to love and you're saying yes to claiming your power. But when you claim your power, don't be afraid of the ripple effects it will show you. Because that's what you're getting when you're saying, yes, I am embracing all of my power. And then just consciously knowing what to do with it, you know. Yesterday I went to this beautiful walk up these hills to really chase the sun. And on my way, I picked up this tiny little, you know, like rod. And all the time I was like pointing, I was imagining that it's the extension of me and how the golden white light energy moves out. And when I was doing these movements and beautiful rotations, I was just imagining this ripple effect energy moving out. And again, this was just like a requisite to better visualize that. And yet again, you can do this in your own ways. So that's it for today. I think it was long enough. I'm sending you beautiful hugs from my sacred mountain space. I'm particularly guided to choose these power vortices here to bring the energy, like I said, forward even deeper, because what I'm sharing, you're receiving, and you're just tuning into what is already within you, the seed, you know, that knows these things, that is awakening as we all move along on our path. So embrace your power and don't fear it, and know what to do with it when it comes. Okay, take care. So much love, wisdom, and power as always. Bye-bye for now. Okay guys, I really want to show you something else, something really amazing. After my singing, and I did some seraphim attunement for the healing, I was staring at these magnificent rocks here, and an amazing thing was revealed to me. So in my video, I mentioned the Eru, the great Iluvatar, and there were 7 great creator beings descending from him. So look, if you can see, I don't know if you can see, but this up here is Eru. His nose, his eyes, and this is Eru, this is Iluvatar. So I hope I'm getting it right. Or no, he's like further up. Sorry guys. So it's very much easier to see it when you're directly watching, but to record it's a bit more challenging. So what happens then is you see these 2 lines. This is that Mahatma golden white energy of light. So this is also the pillar that I came here to embody and establish. So down below here, you have the Council of 7, and these are these great master beings, the 7 creator beings. We also know them in our own scriptures as the Elohim, the great Elohim. And recently, a lot of people were writing to me about the Elohim, so greatly, I think they're coming back again with messages they have to share with us. So you have, I don't know if you're going to see them, but there's great faces. I'm going to share a picture on my Facebook profile and my blog. But there's 1, 2, 3. She has a beautiful face. I'll show you at the end. 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 faces here. So you have, up here is Eru. And you have this descending pillar of light, this column of light, the golden white, the Mahatma energy. So this beautiful creation light when he said, go forth and create now. And then you have the Council of 7 here. So I want to zoom in a bit on this face so you can see this beautiful profile face. Do you see her? And they said the number 2 is like you. So she's like here in the middle. And is a feminine one. You see the eyes, the nose, beautiful lips. And she's a direct channel for this light. And what they showed me was amazing. And as you know, I'm getting a lot of my messages from the rock world, because the rocks were the pillars of the foundation here on this planet as the world was being created. So there's still a lot of things we can see in them. So I hope you can see this beautiful majesty. When I'm looking at it, it's perfect. But again, I want to show you that's the great Eru, the Iluvatar. And when he said, go forth and create, so during this beautiful light of the One, there's the sacred 7 who went out and created the worlds of creation. So I hope you can see them. Again, I hope I'm counting right, but 1, 2, I mean, there's little faces inside. This is just, you know, the overall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think, yeah. So this is something I really wanted to share with you, but the most pivotal one is this one in the middle. And they showed me and they said, well, this is kind of like me and my purpose, what I'm doing. So it's amazing, and this is the point where I was just guided to come, because for a while now I was asking to have the sacred kind of like this cliff where I can do the singing, and I want it to be very close to my home, and it's just a little while walking very close. So this is perfect, and I wanted to share this with you, and that's it for now. So enjoy. The Council of Seven say hello, and they're always here with us. It's just a matter of us consciously connecting with their beautiful wisdom of creation. Bye-bye.